No one was safe whenever George Corwin came to town. Even the most kindly residents of Salem, Massachusetts, feared their very souls if he happened to gaze their way. Victims would be brought to his basement, where he tortured them for hours, using unspeakable, cruel methods. His favorite technique was to tie a loop of rope around the victim's neck and run it down their back to tie it to their ankles. Then Corwin would slowly shorten the length, arching and contorting the body, compressing the throat, until at last a fountain of blood gushed from their nose. It was this monstrous method of torture that earned George Corwin the Strangler. Most terrifying of all is that it was perfectly legal, for George Corwin was the High Sheriff of Essex County and renowned as a financially successful hunter of witches and warlocks. He was the preceding official for the notorious Salem witch trials between 1692 and 1693, and so was personally responsible for the legal torture and deaths of 19 innocent men and women. Once any accused witch was dragged down into the dark cells under his house, they would eventually confess to being the devil's disciple under his sadistic interrogation, that is, if they survived until their execution day. So what was wealthy merchant Joshua Ward thinking when he razed Corwin's home in 1784 to build a beautiful 3-story red brick mansion on top of the old foundation and jail cells? Torture and murder is practically a recipe for vengeful, paranormal activity. Add to that the fact that Corwin was so hated when he died, his family had to bury him in the same basement where his victims suffered and died for fear of his grave being desecrated. Eventually, they reburied him in the cemetery, but the paranormal damage was done. Corwin's ghost haunts the Joshua Ward house even to this day. Over the decades, many people have reported feeling a man's powerful, large, and invisible hands wrapping around their throat and squeezing hard enough to choke off their breath. It's George the Strangler Corwin, accusing them of witchcraft and using his favorite method of interrogation from beyond the grave. Two other specters haunt the Joshua Ward mansion. One was actually photographed by a visiting realtor who captured a frightening image as she snapped pictures to list the house. Standing in the front doorway was a woman in black witchy robes with pale face and hands, and a wild mane of black hair billowing around her head like a hellish smoke. She is believed to be one of the Strangler's many innocent female victims, haunting the place of her violent death to enact vengeance upon her killer. She may be the ghost who inflicts burning scratches on arms and legs and melts candles into puddles though they were never lit. But vengeance may have already been given by another. The only victim of Corwin who never broke under torture was Giles Corey, the only warlock of the Salem witch trials. Corwin conceived of an even worse torture to get him to confess. They staked him out under heavy planks of wood, then piled on boulders until Corey slowly was crushed to death. Corey cursed Corwin with his last breaths, and only 4 years later, George Corwin dropped dead of a mysterious blood ailment at the age of 30. Do you dare visit the witch killer's lair? Once again, I don't know if any of this is true. I'm just reading the information they gave me with the village. I hope you enjoyed watching the video as much as I did making it. Till next time, stay creepy.